mic.
Yeah. Can you hear us online? Yeah. Okay, great. Then we continue. So, so first a little bit about who are we? So my name is Nikki van Ommeren. I'm working as a data scientist in Adyen. And in my free time, I really enjoy doing board games, running. Over here, I have a picture of me running the half marathon, obviously in the beginning of the run, because I'm still smiling. Then here I have a picture with a dog. I'm very fond of dogs. Unfortunately, do not have one myself. And here a picture I took on a cycling trip. So that's a little bit about me. Now a little bit about Adyen. So what is Adyen actually doing? So maybe you've seen the name before, maybe you've seen it on your bank statement, the name Adyen. Adyen is a payment processing company. So, yeah.
We don't see this thing on. No, it's okay. We see the other view. So.
Ah. Is this better?
We see the view with the notes.
Now it should be better. Okay, great. Thanks for the feedback. So what is Adyen doing? So this is an overview of how payments looked in the past, a very complicated system. So here on the left, we have a merchant, for example, Zara. And if you do a payment at Zara, for example, if you buy new shoes, then the payment goes through several providers. You have risk management, a processing, an acquirer, and then a scheme that handles it. And you can imagine a lot of different parties involved, mostly at least 4. They all want a piece of the pie. So in the end, if you buy a pair of shoes of 100 euros, Zara receives 98. So it's not only inconvenient, but also costly. So that's where Adyen comes in. And we simplify the system. So instead of having a lot of different companies in between, we only have one Adyen, and we handle the entire payment. And in the last years, we've been very successful in doing this. There are a lot of merchants onboarding with us. So as I mentioned previously, Zara is one of them, but also Facebook, and the one from which we're using the data today, Spotify as well. If you have any more questions about Adyen, about the work I'm doing, let's talk after this meetup. But let's not spend too much time, and also introduce Carlijn.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Carlijn. I thought I will choose 3 icons of my hobbies. So the first one is tennis. I play a lot of tennis every week, piano. I play piano about 25 years, make my own music or just improvise. And the third one is cooking. I discovered a new hobby during the quarantines, and I still actually like to cook. I have a background in econometrics. That's also how Nikki and I got to meet each other. And 10 months ago, I joined FastAPI as a machine learning engineer. So more about FastAPI. FastAPI is a consultancy located in Nieuwegein. And we deliver hands-on customization projects for our clients in the field of machine learning, data engineering, and data science. In order to solve eventually business problems. So 10 months ago, I joined FastAPI, and that was also the time that I started my 2-year training program at FastAPI. And basically, what it means is that most of the time of the week, we work for clients, 4.5 days a week. We work on assignments, mostly 6 to 12 months. And my colleagues and I, we work on for several clients. ProRail, Politie, IKEA, Ahold Delhaize, KLM, and het ministerie van Buitenlandse Zaken. And the past 10 months, I've been working actually for Managed Grid. It's a small innovator within the energy sector. We created an end-to-end machine learning solution that predicts or forecasts the energy price a day ahead, and also for the current day. We outperformed several business cases, and it's now live. And right now I'm working actually at Odin. After this 2-year training program, we will join BDR, our sister company, where we also have a mentorship program with, and also have some trainings and knowledge sessions. There's also time for fun stuff. We have wind sports, and we had some dinners, and also this year I went to Tenerife with a colleague. If you have more questions for me, FastAPI, then you can follow us on LinkedIn or just ask me. So enough about us. Let's just go to the case. So the goal of the case of today is to create an end-to-end machine learning solution that will recommend the song from a specific playlist based on your own personal music taste. So how does that work? What will we deliver? So on the right-hand side, you see the end users that will be us or some friends. And the first thing is, of course, extract data within 2 ways. So the first way is just the Spotify data from playlists. You will see features like balance or loudness, energy. And the second way is via the Spotify web API to get your personal music behavior. We will need an app for that. If you have seen the README, maybe you've already created an app. If you have not already done so, I will show you later. So if we have extracted the data, you can train a model. In our case, we already coded the model for you. It's the nearest neighbors model. We find the most closest, the most similar songs to a playlist. And eventually we will serve the model through FastAPI to create endpoints. If we want to deploy these endpoints and the model, there might be some disadvantages. So in order to solve possible issues, we will containerize this solution with Docker. What Docker is, what FastAPI is, we will explain later. So this is all clear. Let's see the case overview of today. We have 4 parts. The first part is really small, just to set up the preparation, get access to your own personal Spotify data. The second part, we will first create our first Docker image, Docker container. Second part is create the first API endpoints. And the last was more advanced APIs. So if you are all ready, let's start with the preparation. So to make your code work, you need to create a .env file in the workshop folder. In this env file, you will put your environment variables, and these will be your Spotify credentials. So how do you get your Spotify credentials? Well, that is through this link. You can also find the slides in the repository. So you open the link, and you will be directed to the Spotify web developer environment. You see on the top menu, dashboard. If you go to dashboard, you need to log in with your Spotify account. If you don't have a Spotify account, you create a free one. You don't have to pay for it. You log in. And if you've not already created an app, you can click on the green icon, create an app. If you already create an app, then you can go to your app to find your credentials. You can see your client ID on the top left. If you click on Show Client Secret, you will find your secret. And if you click on Edit Settings, you have to fill in your redirect URI, which is this HTTP localhost 9000. We will need that for the redirect URI. And you can put these 3 credentials in your .env file.
So maybe raise of hands who has created already a developer app in Spotify. Okay. Who still wants to?
Yeah, if you don't have a Spotify account and you prefer not to create an account, or you don't want to create this app, we will have another solution, so you can find also data in the data folder with Nikki's music.
Then you get text. So if you still want to connect when we start with the workshop, just raise your hand and I will help you get your credentials. And it's fun because then you get your own recommendation. Otherwise, you work with my horrible music taste. But
Sorry, from the app, which things do you need to add to your environment variables?
So from the Spotify client ID and the Spotify secret. Just show it to you. Yeah, so in your developer app, you just have to make sure that you put localhost 9000. You don't have to do anything further with it. Then in your .env file, you put your client ID, this one, and then your .env file should be the following. So you do Spotify client ID is, and then copy your client ID. And you copy your Spotify client secret, and then you post your client secret here. So if you put this in your .env file, we'll make sure that these credentials are used and you can use the Spotify API.
Does it matter what name we get the variables because you use a different name than in the README?
Yeah, I think you need these specific names, right?
Yeah, you need these specifically Spotify.
Yeah, so it's not Spotify, but
ID
Spotify.
And Spotify client secret.
Wait, oh, it's Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because we're using the Spotify library who already create. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a wrapper around the Python.
Spotify API.
Yeah, only these two variables have to be in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, maybe let's just continue, and if you still have questions, just raise your hands.
Yeah, so let's go to the second part. If you're not finished yet, we can come to you later. So the second part, as I said, so the goal is to create a containerized end solution. But what if you don't have containerized your solution? So let's say you're working in a development team and everybody from the team is working with a different kind of operating system. So one has a Mac, one has a Windows, one has a Linux system. So then you might all install different dependencies on your laptop. Also, when you want to deploy your application, you might need some files like a model or code or other files, data. You might not know where to put your files on the host. So what happens if you are deploying or installing, if there are also other processes running, might interfere with each other, or what happens if your server changes. So this might all result in that your app or application will fail. So that is when Docker comes in. So what is Docker? Docker, or maybe who has ever worked with Docker before? Okay, nice. Yeah, almost everyone, I think. I will just go through it then very briefly. Docker is a framework for containerization. You can run your apps within a container. Containers are all separated from each other. The big advantage of Docker is that you can run it on every single machine. They have their own operating system, and you can, and it enables you to create your own microservice architecture where a lot of containers can communicate with each other via APIs. An overview of the benefits of Docker. As I said, it can run on any machine. It's very easy to use. You can quickly build and test applications, change your Dockerfile. It's very lightweight and quick. You just need to install your own requirements. It enables better scalability. You can put a lot of containers on a host. And you can use it with Kubernetes to manage containers in production environments. So how does a Dockerfile look? Well, if you used Docker before, you might already know how a Dockerfile looks. But basically, you start with a base image pulled from Docker Hub. In our case, it will be a Python image. Another very important command is the run command. You can run shell commands with that. Copy. You can copy your requirements.txt file or other necessary files to the host. A work directory, and for example, a command. To create a Docker image, you can put a Docker build in your terminal that will build your Docker image. And the Docker image is basically a blueprint for the container. If you want to create your container, you can run, and you need to, for example, map it to a port. That only lets your image have it locally. If you also want to share it with your team, you can push it to the Docker Hub. So let's go to the first part and create the very first containerized solution. So the first part, the goal is to print your most listened to song. This will be printed if you run the spotify.py file. It's in the source folder. So how to do that? Well, first you need to complete Dockerfile. Think carefully, what files do you want to copy? What kind of runs do you want to be executed? Then the second step is complete the bash file. In the bash file, you have all the Docker commands. You can build your image and run a container. And then you can run the bash file from your terminal. And that automatically runs all the commands from that bash file. If you do that, you will, and everything is successfully, you will see a URL. You can copy that URL in a browser. It will return another URL, and you can copy that back in your terminal. And that lets you authenticate and get access to your Spotify data. And then your most listened to song will be printed. So that's it. Are there questions about that? No, okay.
Yeah, one question. The environment file that we just created. Where are we supposed to use that one?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you are running your container, you can use the .env file in that command line. So that you can put it in your bash file. I think you're going to show?
Yeah, it should be in the workshop folder. So if you create it here, file.
Yeah, the file will be in that folder, and you can call it in the Docker run command. You have a specific argument for that, but we thought it's part of the exercise to use that, to look that up. But in the workshop folder, you already have a Docker file that you need to complete, and you already have the run endpoints.sh that you also can complete. Yeah. So I think let's have like 15 minutes for it, and then we can walk through the solutions.
Yeah. So please all create an .env file if you don't have it yet. Go to the developer portal, fill it in, and then finish the Docker file. And yeah, we walk around to it.
And how does it work if you use this data folder?
Open, just to help you.
Can anybody hear me?
Nice.
Can anybody hear me? If you don't want to use Spotify and you want a data folder, how does it work?
Sorry, can you repeat your question once?
So I don't want to use the Spotify API. I would like to provide a data folder with these two CSV files. How do I do this?
Yeah.
Or you can just speak.
But so is this like
Yeah, just answer.
I
Just open
Do we have to put some music there? Or?
You're unmuted. You can just reply.
all right? I didn't know.
No.
Coding.
You don't
Well,
want music in the
Yeah.
So from your laptop.
I think the sound is out. Hello?
Yeah, I think they can hear you, but because if I have both of them unmuted, it causes an echo.
Yeah.
So, can you hear us on the call?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Nice.
Then you can
Do you still have the, what was your question?
So I'm just saying, instead of using the Spotify API, I just want to read the CSV files from the data folder as you suggest. But probably I need to write some other code for this to read the CSV file.
No. If everything is correct, we put the code that if you don't have the, you still need to create a .env file, but you can just leave it blank.
Okay, just an empty .env file. Okay.
Yeah, just a .env file.
Just .env file. Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, leave it blank, and then the code is written that it will return. It will use the .csv.
Okay, I haven't looked at the code yet, so I don't know what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and now it's still
the Dockerfile in the repo looks very different than the one on the slides. The repo one is pretty empty. It's only run apt get.
Ja, dat doet het niet.
Ja, kan je dan, als je nu niet bij de GitHub kan, als je nu aan
It's public.
Because it's also so essentially you already
Maybe it's client that you can select the view. Top, dank je.
The screen is not shared in the call. Yes, it's not shared.
they usually hide it.
Just make sure that the screen is shared. Yeah, because now that's what is sharing
this
right
one
now.
then,
Yes, yes. Okay. So then we make, yeah, we'll check. Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Oh.
Actually, also have a Spotify. Okay.
Nee, dat is top.
No, because I have different songs.
Waar wil je die workshop?
Maybe, but I just use the first one.
Oh ja, oh.
Ja, als je kijkt naar de instructie,
Ja?
wat de instructie zegt.
Even lezen?
Ja.
Before you just doing time.
Ja, dank je. Wordt wel wat.
Conferences or something. I was supposed to go to Rexus, but I am not managing exactly really well. Yeah, the way it's actually about 3 months. And I got I mean, I also have like I also but maybe there's December. You're planning to go.
This is for styling. Niks in, zeg maar. Het is wel even wat we
Yeah, if you go to it, I can choose no one cares where I go.
That's very fun. So the goal of this one is to complete the Dockerfile.
Yeah.
Like this what you write in your terminal. So
command. So what you do, just create your Docker container on your laptop, and Docker runs the executes the code in the container. So what does this mean? Is I have here folder or idea, and that's the name of so basically it says Docker run the image installed in this file, and you need to, when you will create I get the point here, I also get the point here. The minus I will inhibit.
How's it going?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the web. And it's what we call it seems to me that it was just right. Yeah, but this one was already in. Yeah, because it says it's code, it's like where the code existed. So you need to point it to proper intervention to steer to the right place.
And the right place should be source, because this is the so then should I do this?
And where the requirements
Requirements are in workshop.
So it means that what you're going to do, yeah, what you're going to do, it will be.
But then this doesn't apply.
Yeah, because it's everything in the workshop. But then it goes to the source.
I think
It was automatically, it was a placeholder to put in code. That's where it was.
so then it would be this, right? And I'm not sure how to import these environments. What restrictions in that they're not yet a value,
Because it's running
but
in
we already have them
then it
here,
doesn't matter.
right?
It doesn't matter what operating system you're running on. The Docker command knows where to look for. What if the column modifier
As I understand it from here,
minus T?
this is not
Docker
related
is
to this
running
workshop.
Yeah. Okay, so
So you put these in the environment.
yeah.
And then you have to.
Docker essentially creates a Linux server.
That's not clear to me how you import that. So because they ask us to set them first here, so then I will not copy this and there in the Docker.
Yeah, but look, what instructions I gave back to the person for a second.
Here in the review.
Yeah, this command will be outside for Docker.
What is this? So create an yeah in the workshop directory. So we should be in the workshop directory, right?
So these were different things, and the ones that
Okay, so the status of this variables can be found in this one.
that's all right. That's all right. That's all. Okay, these are all the instructions.
Okay, so
So then
but
I did.
so then there should be a way to read this abuse without a file. So, or you can put the key back in the Docker, but it will be really insane. It's rather not to do because I want to keep just to publish secrets. So the another option is to put the data back during the build of
But this is in the Docker controls one now.
no, it's the because in general, Docker is what for us is important when you build Docker, that your bash is where to find this. So that means that, or there should be other scripts that go reads.env and populate the variable with information from .env. And when you call this Docker build, at this moment, your bash is already aware about these values, and you can do it this way. So literally, your bash script should literally read this .env and place these two variables to make them available in your bash. Yeah, because it says, so what you need to do, you need to complete the Dockerfile, then you need to complete the bash file, it's going to build Docker and run it, and then that's let me check one thing.
Ja. Ik ben het maar dat is mooi.
Meer uitdagingen.
Ja,
even kijken, als je naar
GitHub
Repo dan zie je hier Repo.
Ja, we zijn toch wel Python met een nummer niet.
En als je dat pakt, dat is dan je from. En tool,
Ja,
wil je dan in die
Waarschijnlijk is dat niet zo.
tool wordt dan in de Docker-container. En in de Docker-container bestaat op dit moment nog niet heel veel. We hebben net één working directory aangemaakt code. Dus daar gaan we ook die workers van code ja. En nu zou ik aanraden om het gewoon eens een keer kijken op deze fout nou dit. Ja, dat doe je met beeld. Ja, staan ja, dus dat is zo dik Docker beeld in T. Dan kun je hem zelf een naam geven. En dit moet je dan vanuit de terminal runnen in de vanuit de file waar je Dockerfile zet.
Oh ja.
Dus je moet eerst navigeren naar die
Ja.
Als je
Probeer gewoon hetzelfde te doen.
ja, dat was wel nu Docker beeld in T.
Maar je bent geen toevallig Jobber zelf.
Ja, en dan wil je de naam hierin en dan wil je
Ja, dit is en die pakt hij automatisch door het toegevoegd.
Ja,
Okay, so getting back. So once again, if you want to set up, let's right now put environment variables right here. Let's put environment variables to let the bash start. So what does it mean? The .env is okay. It should be there. It's great. But from here, you remove environment. Remove env. These. Yeah. Okay, so once again, why we do this? Because if you put your env here, you're gonna expose it to everyone. Yeah. As soon as you push it to GitHub, wherever it goes, and everybody can go. And this is not okay. Yeah. So .env is not trained because we have not yet a car. We're not allowed you to push .env. So it means then while you're gonna build an image, the moment you're building the image, we need in a bash script to make sure, or the bash script, or to run command in such a way that it go to .env and it reads environment variables from there. So then we're gonna source it. So here the work dir, this is the directory that you're setting up. So work dir, this is the name of the directory where you're going to use for working in. So that's why it was called here.
Okay,
It's
or is it?
no, work dir. It's a directory that you're going to use on the Docker container. That's everything that you're gonna put in it. So you create, it's like so if you say the word directory code, it's by default we made this folder in a container for you. And everything that you need to copy, you're gonna take from there.
It will copy it into this directory.
Yes, and
So
copy
then
it
I
to
put
the
this here.
So here, wait, yes. So here you define how the folder gonna look like in the Docker container, and then you've given the right instruction that you want to copy the requirements. But what you say slash, because right now we are in which it's gonna look at workshop folder. So I think it should just take requirements txt, they are allocated in workshop. So literally you need to remove slash before, yes, and you're saying that yes, I want to have requirements txt, and I want to copy them to go to requirements txt. Okay, but then there is one thing missing. No. Environment variables we're going to pick up during the build. So you have requirements txt, but where are the codes that you're going to run? Are you going to copy the code?
Yeah, so do I have to copy this now here? Do I copy this whole directory?
Yes, because otherwise you will be not capable of running it. So if you don't copy it, it means that source will be not copied.
Into right? Is this what I have to do?
You need to copy anyway. Let's say you need to copy the file. So because what you're saying, right now what you did, you just copy requirements, then you install requirements. Okay, so it's there because it's Python content, but you need the code. Otherwise, you have nothing to run.
So now I'm copying also this. Here's the code, right? I copy the whole folder.
Yes.
Well, so you need to do that.
En dan nog de requirements.
Can I give you another folder?
Yes, it will be another subfolder in the same working directory, right? Like this.
So what do you copy? So you copy the requirements, you install requirements, right?
Then I copy the code and I copy the data.
And you copy the data, yes. Because it says or use your own data or fall back to the, let's say, base data. Right?
So now it should work.
Bij de lunch vertel je het ook leuk aan de collega's. En dan zit een.
No, I have to run it first. Do I have to run it?
And there is one thing that is still missing.
So
wait. There is still one thing that you're missing. So you copy code, you copy data, but there is one thing. What do you see in the workshop folder? In the workshop folder, do you have anything? You have run points, so the batch that you're gonna run.
So this I don't have.
Yeah, wait, no, you don't have to. So what is for us important? So you have set up file. If you have set up file, it means that you're making a package, and you can run this package and install this package. So the thing is, you copy the code, you copy the data, you copy the requirements, but you didn't copy the settings. Of course.
Okay, so basically I have to copy everything that I use into the working directory, and working directory is something like Python.
It's by default we'll build this code, and then everything what you copied we're gonna be left in this. Yeah. And the last one, because it's so the last one. So if you copy it, right? So you have copied it. So you have you want to put this out here. Okay. So the thing is, you double comment here, but eventually you can double comment into one. Let's skip it for now. We'll see what to do. How to do it later. Let's skip it for this. So if you have set a file, the last thing that you're missing. So you haven't set up the file. If you have set up the file, what do you want to do? If you have some, if you're working with a package that is simplified, and you want to now work with this package. No, it's okay. It's okay. I just want to hear the environment before you. No, environments will be later. So when you work with
Dockerfile instaat, daar beginnen we met
you need to install it. So what you listen
Een beetje tricky hier. Er staat nog een punt.
So you have set
En dat is heel belangrijk, want dan gaat hij dus naar de current directory. Dus hiermee geef je dus aan, oké, waar staat die Dockerfile in die er
So what you need, wait. Set up the it's a core for the package. It's defined how the package should be combined. So if you want to use this package, what you do pip install package, right?
Yeah, oh, right.
In your case, so
Wait.
wait. So because probably you don't want to send so this is how the package should come. So here what you need to do, you need to see actually run pip install. Just run pip install. And then it should be dot. Because dot say go and install from setup. So in this case, it's going to be
This whole thing is the package.
yes. Okay. The next thing what you need to do, you need to go to the run reports to our script. So wait a second. Let's review once again what we did. So with if you start from the record, so we have basic. It's Python 3.10, everything. Then we say now we want to make so image based like build based on layers. So we have base image. This is the layer. It has Python, underneath has Ubuntu or Linux or something. So now we want to expand it with my own definition. So we say first I define the word directory. This is where I want to copy everything, and from this working directory I want to run everything. You've done this, okay. Next step. What's this? So because underneath it's Ubuntu image, it's Ubuntu image, and what it says take a package manager out and just get the latest updates. So literally it's about like it's like you do install update and upgrade. It's the same like this. It's you do it for base image. No.
Yeah, so
This one you can edit here. You can edit here. You can edit pip install, then dash upgrade pip. You can edit here.
Is it still necessary if I learn?
Yeah, because it's not for Python. It's for all Ubuntu things. And this is it. You can have one.
So it mimics Unix machine.
It's basically it's based on Ubuntu Unix system. It's based on one of the distributions, and it's a update and dash here means yes. So when you run this update date, say do you want to update it, and you need to say yes. So with this line you define it, yes. Then you go to copy requirements, then this one it could be one comment. So you can say you can have pip install dash upgrade pip. It could be one comment.
And like this.
Yeah, no. What you say?
So after it, and I want to.
No, just a bit without pip. Without pip is not missing. So what you're saying here? You're saying here pip install upgrade. So by default it's gonna upgrade pip, and then you can also dash air code requirements. But there is one thing. So now what you do? So this is done to refresh everything that you have in the base image. This is you do it, you copy requirements in the proper place. Then you run pip install these requirements, and you also refresh it to make sure this is the latest version of the pip. And then you go and you copy in the source. Yes, then you copy the data. By default, normally you don't need to copy the data, but in this case we copy it to make sure that everything is okay. And then you copy setup.py because it's a package. Yeah, and this is what it's going to do because here you created a source. So source plus setup.py, it's a package. It's your own package. It's like any package that you were installing. Yes. So in this case, and then you run and install. So next step, you need to make sure that when you build image and when you literally run it, you want to make sure that you can access .env file in ADS.NET. How to do it?
De rest is allemaal daarna doe je code met zo'n
So we have this environment variables, and what we need to do, we need to make sure that when we want to create our image, when we run it, we want to make sure that we are reading our environment variables from .env file. Any ideas how to do it with this?
I have no idea how to do it. I was thinking of importing.
Okay, so echo is to show. Good idea. So that's
export it and then use the
Instead of
dollar
if
sign,
it's all good one.
the arrival link, and then you read from your laptop. You can just export it anywhere.
yeah, that's a good idea. Really good idea. And also there are even more to that.
So we cannot import, right?
No, you don't need to import anything. So the thing is, with these environment variables, when you're going to build your image, they should be in your, or when you're going to run it, they should be in your dash environment. If they are not there, then they are not there. Oh, look, there's like solutions coming.
Ja.
Ja, maar ik wil zeg maar verder doorpakken en ik weet daarvan voor jullie.
Okay, so
En dan daar gaat de tutorial, zeg maar.
okay, so yeah, I think the time has passed. So let's walk very slowly through the solutions. I can imagine that you're not already finished, but you can also do it, finish it later. So for the Dockerfile, I think it was already in the Dockerfile, pull the Python image, set the code, dash code as working directory. Is it all readable for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then you can run apt-get update -y to update all the packages. Then one part that you need to copy are the requirements, where you have all the packages with the versions. You can copy it to the container. So don't forget then the dash code, dash requirements.txt. And to install all the packages on your container, you can run the command pip install dash code dash requirements. We also added the no cache dir and upgrade to keep your image as small as possible, so that it will not be cached on your system. And then the last step is to copy the source and install it as package. So first you copy the source folder, then you copy the data folder. That is more like if you don't want to fill in your .env file, that we have already a .csv file with the music. Then you can copy the setup.py. That is the file that you need to install your own of the package. And then the last step is to run the pip install dot to install your package. So that is the Docker file in order to build the image. If you all fill that in, then we'll walk through. Now that will be in the next step. Yeah, so
Just a second.
yeah.
Do you know what's the problem if you're just going to expose your environment variables here? What's the problem? Security. So, because every time it's a .env by default, like we have gitignore, for example, or gitignore where we say if you have .env, don't push it under any circumstances to any public repository. So in this case, we can write it down here, but it means that if you push it, it will be available for everyone. That's why we want to make sure that we get into these environment variables only, and that will be.
Yeah, exactly. So your ID is maybe not as important, but you don't want to share your secret anywhere. So that's indeed best practice to put it in a .env file and put it also in the .ignore file, so it never will be out in the open. Yeah. So thanks.
And why are you copying all of the files separately? Because you can just do copy dot into the code folder.
Yeah. It's also possible, but you want to keep your Docker file as small as possible. So you just copy only the necessary files. So you need the source file to execute the code later. You need the requirements.txt for the installing the requirements, and you can copy the data. So just to keep it as compact as possible.
Copy everything, then the presentations that you're watching right now, and everything will be just copied to Docker.
No, but I meant like in the project that you're working on, just kind of copy everything in there because then it's your data, your source code, your requirements.
Yeah, but we have much more than that. We have much more information there, so we don't have to copy all of it.
Yeah, it also will be faster to build your image and everything. So then to really build your image and to run your container, we first have the first command to build the image. So you can build the image by docker build and then a dot. The dot will point to the current directory and it will pick up the Dockerfile. So it's best to tag your image with the -t, give it a name. We used music style image. We call the container music style. You can call the image then the music style image. This is the command for building the image. And if you want to run the container, Nikki, thanks. Then you need the Docker run. Already in your file, you have the -i-t for the interactivity when we want to authenticate with Spotify. Then where we were talking about, so how can you integrate your .env file in the command? Well, there's an argument for that, the -env-file. And if you put it to the equal to the .env file, it will pick up all the environment variables that you put it in. So this is actually not necessary yet. So for hosting the ports, that will be later for the endpoints. Then already it was in the file, the -- name music style to name your container. Then the next step is to mount the volume for the source. So how can you do that? You do that with the argument -v, then write to the current directory with the pwd and connect it to the code source. We use the music style image that we will build before, and then already in the code was -c to execute the Python command. Is that clear for everyone? Yeah, I think so. Then, Nikki.
Yeah. So in case it was not or clear, it went a bit fast, I just pushed the solutions for this part. So if you pull, you get the filled in Dockerfile in your workshop folder and the filled in run endpoints. And then we make sure we can all continue to the next part. Which is the part about FastAPI. So, first to start off a little bit with the basics. So, you might already know this, but just that we're all on the same level. What is an API? So, an API makes sure that, in simple words, applications can talk to each other. And you can use an API for lots of different things. So, for example, to get Spotify data, as we're going to do now. To send data to your SQL server, to use Google Maps inside another application. But today we're going to use an API to serve a machine learning model. So you might maybe have heard of the word REST API, which is apparently an abbreviation for this. No. That's just
live streaming is on.
Okay. So I hope you can all hear me. So yeah, I was saying REST API stands for Representational State Transfer Application Program Interface, and it basically is is an architectural some architectural requirements that
make sure we all use the same way if we talk to each other over the internet. And there are some requests which you might have heard of previously. We have the GET request to get information from an API. We have the POST request to send information and receive a result. We have a put and patch, and we have a delete.
Just one small thing.
Yeah.
That's what people see on the screen. Could we get like the full presentation mode?
Again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's check.
Oof.
Oh, yeah. Let's check because we have some delay. So.
Yeah. Previous time I could do swap screen. Then I go to.
This now?
Yeah. Okay. I think.
Now it's feasible.
Yeah. Now it's feasible.
Thanks a lot.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, so there are some status codes, and you might have heard them before. You might also have seen some jokes about them. So 200 and above. 200 means everything is okay. It's a very common one. That's what we want to see today. 200. 201 created. Then we have 300 and above for redirection. 400 and above. We will probably also see a little bit today. That's client errors, for example, 400 bad request, 401 unauthorized, or 404 not found. I could have pulled many memes about it. Yeah, I didn't do it today. Then 500 and above are server errors. For example, the 500 internal or service not available. But luckily, you don't have to remind them. You can just look them up. Okay, so a little bit about FastAPI. So maybe you're already familiar with APIs and you have heard of Flask. I've previously worked a lot with Flask myself in my previous projects, and at the moment we're also using Flask in Adyen. So a little bit of a comparison. If you haven't seen this before, don't worry, we will walk through this slowly in the next part. On the left side, you see a app created with FastAPI, and on the right side with Flask. So what you can basically see is they're very similar. So yeah, when it comes to how you define your app, how you define your get and post request, to me, I don't really have a preference, to be honest. But then there are some differences. And I put them, I make the summary over here. So with FastAPI, you get automatic interactive documentation. Yeah, and then you say, yeah, documentation, why do I need it? But the FastAPI documentation is actually really nice. We'll see that in a second. Then you get in-house data validation with Pydantic, which we'll also see today. It's asynchronous. You don't need to wait for other requests to be completed. It's supposed to be much faster. But then there are also some benefits of using Flask. It's proven and a well-tested solution. It's been around for a long time. And one that I personally enjoyed in the past is that it's useful for web development. So if you use Flask, it automatically looks for a template folder where you can display your variables. So can I say one or the other? As always, unfortunately, it depends. At least within Adyen, we're going to try to move over to FastAPI and see whether it can keep its promise of being faster. So it's on the backlog right now. Then, can you go on back? Yeah. Thank you. To the fun part, we're now going to create our own FastAPI. So I hope you all pulled the code. Then you luckily already get some code with it. So let's walk through it. So here we import, on the top we import FastAPI from FastAPI, and we import our music model. And inside this music model, we already have some functions for you built in, which will help you load the data, make predictions. But if you don't have the Spotify connection, don't worry, we can also continue with my data. Then we create an app, FastAPI, and on the bottom you see that we define the root. And in the root, it will show a message, welcome to the Spotify Music app, and it will show you whether you are successfully authenticated or that authentication failed. So now, how are we going to run it? Using this command. So source.main refers to the file main.py, which is in the source folder. The app refers to the object created in main.py. So if we look back a little bit, then you can see over here that I here have the name app. So this should be the same as over here. Here I have the host and the port. And I want to reload to make sure the server restarts after every code change I made. So I don't have to stop it, the Docker container, and start it again, or stop and stop this query. No, the files are automatically reloaded. And it makes it very easy. So now we get to the tricky part. I'm going to attempt to do some live coding on this laptop. Okay. Is the workspace in the documents folder? Yeah. So it's not my own laptop, so I first need to look where the code is. Je wil hem vanaf hier runnen. Oké, prima. And now not everyone can see the screen. So make sure we can all see the, yeah, display. Yeah. Oh. Little bit struggling because this laptop is in Dutch instead of English. And then I want to...
Yeah, you can also show it in the meeting, I think.
No, I want to use one screen. Oh. Instead of two, how do I do that? Yeah.
Can you share the whole screen? You have two, but what do you want? You want to?
I want one screen with the same display.
Check what you're sharing. Check what you're sharing, because if you share in the whole screen or you share in only a specific window.
I think a window.
Because then you can stop sharing the window and stop sharing the whole screen, and then the whole screen is visible.
So we
here.
Stop. Then share.
Yes, and here you can choose. Yes, and you can send the volledige scherm. That is strange. Wait a second. Yes.
Yes, I want to share this one because then we're
okay.
Yeah, and then I'll just try to do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Now we want to. No, because I also want the room to see all of this. So actually, I don't want the duplicate screens.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
And usually I just go to displays, but
yes,
that's not. It's in Dutch.
Yeah, beeldscherm. Yes.
What's going on?
It's okay. And it's
here.
Nope. You can stop sharing it for a second and then get back to. Yeah. Okay. Just take out how we move it on this. Yes.
Yay. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, now it looks like the whole should be the whole screen, right?
No, it's still something different.
Okay.
It's this one. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, we're there.
Finally.
Yeah. The risk about of live coding and then using a different laptop last moment. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Okay. So we're. Does this work?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going into the workshop folder. So please pull the code and go to the workshop folder. What we're going to do now is we do bash space run endpoints. So in this run endpoints file, we have put the commands you've seen previously in the presentation. Yeah, so this command and the command to build and run the Docker are all in this file. So if I run this, then I get an error because there's already a container with the name music file. That can happen. What I do then is I do docker ps min a. I see which containers are running. I do docker rm from remove, and then I want to remove the container with the name, starting with the name E7D. So E7D. Then I'm just going to docker container prone. Okay. So I first attempt to stop them one by one. Then I should actually stop and then remove them. By running docker container prune, I can stop all my containers in one go. So if you have the same problem, please try that. Then let's continue by bash run endpoints.sh. Then I still have the same problem. Now it should be fine. Yeah. Okay. So I hope that you get the same as I do over here. So it attempts to start UVcorn, which we need for our FastAPI, and it asks me to go to the URL, and this is for the Spotify authentication. You only get this when you have filled in your Spotify client ID and your Spotify client secret. So what I do is I copy this command over here. Then I go to the browser. Then I fill this in. And then I get a code over here. So I just copy the entire thing. So here is my redirect URL. And here's the code I get from Spotify. And I need this to authenticate. So then I go back to my terminal, which I had over here. I paste this URL over here. Press enter. Okay. So if you did not fill in your client and secret, then you can immediately go to this link. So let's now see whether it all works. And good thing is, yes, in this case, it worked. I am now on the root page and I get a message, welcome to the Spotify music app, successfully connected to the Spotify API. So I
can make it bigger. So zoom in.
Yeah.
150%.
Ta-da. Better, thanks. So I hope you all got the same message. So now let's continue to our slides. Where is the... Yeah. Yeah, so now we have some other functions implemented. One of them, you can find them all in main.py. One of them is the most listened. So if we go to the link most listened, then this function will be called. It has two input parameters, a term, which can be short term, medium term, long term, and debug true or false. And what it does, it returns to you the songs you have most listened to. So over here, we call the music model. We get our most recent tracks. If we are in debug mode, then it prints it nicely using HTML, and otherwise it returns records that are more common for an API call. So let's try this actually out. So I want to go to most listened. So if I type over here, most listened, then, oh wow. Then I see over here the songs I've listened to most recently. Well, I think actually the songs that you listen. Yeah. So now we're looking into Carlijn's data. It's also nice. So what you saw in the code is that it had two input parameters, a term and a debug. So and these are query parameters. And if I want to use them, I can do this, a question mark, then for example, debug, and then is true. Right? Yeah. Can I also zoom in on the header? Yeah. Thanks. And then it indeed shows me nicely the top songs of Carlijn, which is Stop This Flame from Celeste, then Moderat by Sam. Oh, quite a good music style. Then there was another input parameter. If we go back here, the other thing we can change is the term. So by default, we're looking at her short-term most recent, most listened to songs, but maybe we can also see how her music style was if we look into a longer period. We can do that by n, and then term is, for example, long term. And then something else reveals. So yeah, I think maybe just before this presentation, she listened to some other songs, because I see Stupid Love of Lady Gaga. No, I love Lady Gaga. So yeah. And then we can also check medium term. And you can also play around with this using your own data. So now we saw query parameters, how to start your app. I also put it here. Here I can zoom in, so if you could not see it, maybe you can see it here. Then, yeah, the thing where I think Flask really, or FastAPI compared to Flask really shines is the interactive docs, which you can go to by /docs. So if we go back here, we remove all of this and we go to /docs. And here we have the interactive docs. And here you can see the functions we've implemented. We've just checked out most listened. So if I click on here, and then over here, I can also try it out myself. Here you can see it has two input parameters, as we saw previously, the term and whether it's debug. So I can change this, then execute it, see the response over here. So you can see the table, response header, and what we saw on the slides, the return code. So if you remember the 200, everything is fine, everything is okay, we did well. Okay. Then we have some nice exercises for you. So I hope, yeah, and don't worry if it did not work with your client and client secrets, then you can just use the default data. And if Docker doesn't work, let us know. We can also help you to get FastAPI running without a Docker container. But it is more convenient to use the Docker container. So I would, if it works, I would recommend using it. So the exercises. Yeah, so try to get your the songs you most listen to by going to most listened. Then try some things of the interactive docs. Using /docs. And then if you're really into it, then you can add a limit parameter, so an extra input parameter to that function get most listened songs to limit the number of records it returns. And one hint, if you do it slow, if you go to the code over here and you go to main, yeah, you can see all of the code over here. Yeah, and then the idea is to implement, oh, these are the solutions. Yeah. So over here. Yeah, and then here is exercise 2.3, add a limit parameter to the function below. So the idea is to add a limit over here. Yeah, I see we're already almost out of time, but maybe let's still take 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think 10 minutes would be okay. For those who want to try out,
Yeah.
update and then rerun it.
Okay, so yeah, let us know whether everything works for you. We will help you if it doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, I'll put the slides 1 sec.
Yeah, so
let's look at the solution.
it's not your fault.
So what's your preference? It should run, it should run, and then you can also
So I cannot start it again because it's already running.
Okay, it's already running. If it's running, then go to
I'm copying the solution for the Dockerfile and the terminals.
or you can just so if it's running, I should be there.
Yes, and do stuff.
So this was. Are you sure it's running? Let's get back to
No, I'm not.
So this one, the password
Yeah,
should be
yes.
the environment variable. So many
It's
times.
something that you are running.
It's not like.
So I ran So I got the link and it's into the new.
Yeah, and you are redirected.
And then it's but it didn't actually stop because then when I tried it again, it showed me here has to remove that be able to use it. I'm saying it's open. So I can't close
Wait a
it.
second. Because what's happening right when you close it? So if you can run
This is what I wanted to answer.
So what it says build a new container. So when you say bash run this, it tries to build a new image.
Everything is.
This image is already
It could also
exists.
this.
So in this case, you don't need Docker build, you just need Docker run.
Okay, so then this actually ran, and then,
Yeah, so this is when it's going to be running.
Ja.
Informatieschatje en alles, iedereen is al.
Because why? Because you're changing it here, but you didn't change it in the Docker container. Now, what you can do, first of all, you just run it this file and just run it. Yes. Make sure that the container is running. Okay, so container is container is already running. So the container is running. What you need to do right now, you just need to run the. Okay, so container is already running. So let's get back to the presentation. So part, let's start with when to start.
it's already, so then I have to do it. That's what I'm doing, but it didn't work. Maybe I have to install something?
No, it's better for you to get it up. So it's eventually so
White space shouldn't come, right?
because it couldn't find the
You use that switch.
she uses it. It's like the same as the yeah, but it means that you say use your record, but it's not just you want to use it from your to you, to your computer. So it's really interesting question.
Yeah.
Nikki. So the question when we try to run Unicorn, it says that Unicorn comments are found.
Yeah.
And it's clear because now we try to call it so the Docker container is running.
Yeah.
Without any association with the Docker container, if you try to run it, it doesn't run because Unicorn couldn't be found.
Outside. Yeah, but it's in the it's installed within the.
En ik vind het eigenlijk wel heel erg nice.
Yes.
Als je gewoon steeds gewoon als een soort van, oké, maar als je niet, er zijn ook wel mensen die daar zo
Iets van verder komt van die container.
en meer van dat gekozen.
Yeah. So just in your case, just pull the latest version. Just pull the latest version.
En wel heel erg aan
Or yeah, no, not. So what you can go, you just can go to the browser to you can delete the best here. Yes.
Yeah, okay, content only serves one.
Yeah.
Niet strict op van
They say bash execute command. So it says you are asking, you're going to start a Docker container and you run the command in a Docker container. Because you don't want to run it on your laptop, you want to run it in a Docker container. That's the part of this. Yeah, but it looks like it's no, because this is will remove all containers. We don't need to remove, we just need to stop it. This it will remove everything. I always check. I don't remember all this by name, by heart. I always go and check and just like
Exactly. We say we are good Googlers, actually. Exactly.
Yes, so you just need to Docker stop and you need to specific stop. So it says Docker stop, and then it should be container. So in your case, I will not my container, it will be my music style. So Docker stop and this music style. Because endpoints don't actually do zero, it's on the Docker. You have to update it here, but you don't have to do it. So in your case, you just need to do this, just to run it. Because it's still to get back to the nice. We don't stop saving because if you stop, you can restart it. In your case, you want to. But wait. If it's running, we could just stop and we could just start it. Should be the
Oh ja.
Nee, ik denk dat ik huis eventjes tussenop.
Ja, dus nee, er zullen ook solutions worden en dan
Ik heb ook nooit met Docker gewerkt. Dus
nee, dat is
een stapje achter.
Ja. Ja, nee, dat is lastig. Maar als je nu voelt, je niet erg die solutions wat je hebt gedaan wordt overschreven, dan zou je het verder kunnen doen. Dan krijg je de Dockerfile binnen en
dat is een beetje goed. Hoe jij net
Je moet even zorgen dat die code die inhoud gelijk zou worden. En dan zou je gewoon moet je alleen maar bash with endpoint.sh.
Then you need to remove it, and then remove it, and then build it again. Because what's happening, you refer to unicorn, but you should run in a Docker container and not that's it. This is just don't know what to do.
Because this file is injected into the Docker container. You should rebuild it. I should put it like
So I did this
Nee, vast heb jij niet gebruikt. Nee, vast.
it doesn't work. Not my data, but still recording.
Now we can just edit here.
This is separate.
Maar ik vind wel fijn om hier te zien dat je en dan als je een beetje krijgt, makkelijker. Ja, dus op zich van het hele, maar er is nog een hele plaatje.
What version do you enter right now? You have
Nou, dat dat gelukt is. Ja, en als je dus doet, kun je dit niet architectuur zitten, maar kun je ook makkelijk.
and then you have this, and that's what you can play around with. So it's a task one, you can just do it this online, but then the third task you need to change it to
how I get my own data.
No, so some
Yeah, I think I already put it.
you need to do the presentation. I'm not gonna help you with that. It's me or not me, right? So eventually you can say yeah, but then but then if you go to build, so if you go to, so this is what's right now, it's implemented in GitHub. So here you have this, you get with this most listen songs that you was asking for, and then you have another one. So I'm curious what you're going to do if you need to execute task number 5. Think about
No, I was playing I managed. I think so. I made it happen.
Yeah.
I got stuck here. Looking at because I use Docker first.
I mean, when you run in Docker, you run in because C, I say that it's like standard Windows file, so if you don't have to use it, not in Windows, it's different.
I don't think so.
Yeah, short term. It should also be
So you want
myself
Windows,
because
and you run in Docker.
I also listen to
So I'm trying to run Linux.
Yes, okay.
You're using command line. I like command line. You want to
By the way,
smash
you also
the
can
background.
use the local host of
Yes, Windows.
also compose and write.
So the just you can eventually you can change it to Bash. So if you have Bash, you can Bash. So you can just change it to Bash. You have to make sure that it's not so big house PowerShell and it's picking up Bash onto the Bash command sheet.
I don't know if I've patched.
Oh yeah, this you need to check. I don't know. You can easily so if you go there and then so it should be visual to the code. Yeah, so you go to terminal.
Here.
Next one. No, it's just
No, but because so I don't have a Spotify account, so I don't actually connect to one, so I'm not sure how.
So if you have
Yeah. I know that I did that most pick it up and you can show me the data that is in here, but I mean, I would not, if I don't have someone that runs the very first one, but I don't think.
I don't know the comment. I know the comment.
Yeah, we write it in such a way that it's
So let's take a look at how I install it.
Yeah, so what I recommend when I'm forced to work at the Windows machine, and when like there is a possibility to stay just like that. But let's say it will be just easier because otherwise, in the Mac, I have to say we can use this. And then the Visual Studio Code, you just like right here in the terminal, or it could be like this terminal setup probably. It's just like easier because if you order with the Dockerfile,
But is this endpoint using some sort of
I think we could do a power.
Yeah, I had an entire different next part, but
Yeah, what we can do because
first,
yeah, so let's do. Yeah. Nikki?
Yeah, okay. So, anyone who wants to share their favorite songs? I saw some favorite songs on the screen, or are you too embarrassed? Maybe on the chat. I will share mine. I think my most listened song was Steen from the Song Festival in de Diepte. Very good song. Well, maybe we leave that to the borrel. I had more to tell, but yeah, given the time, I think we've done enough for today. We will make sure to push all solutions and the full slide deck. So if you want to go through it later and learn more about, I think we had one, we had more on error handling or the Pydantic. Yeah, then feel free to check it out later. Yeah, so for the solutions, if you got through the to add the limit parameter, you could do it in such a way. And the nice thing is that it's basically once you get familiar with it, it's not so much work. So you add the limit over here in the input parameters. Yeah, we want to make sure we don't return the entire data frame, but only the limit. And yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, so thank you all for your attention. Thanks for the people offline. We had a little bit of struggle with doing this with code and the whole setup, but all in all, I think you've done great work. Thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, let me know, or Carlijn, please connect to us on LinkedIn if you like. And yeah, have a great rest of the evening.
streaming right now, the streaming parts, and then we get back to, okay?